a husband and wife are committed to the lordship of Jesus Christ. And that covers everything else that we're to do. So those things that fall outside the lordship of Christ, it's like, would I do this thing if Jesus were standing here with me? Probably not. Then don't do it. Folks, we've got to be led by the lordship of Christ, which will then cause us to understand that which is evil in the sight of God. Well, frankly, preacher, I don't see anything wrong with it. Well, that was point number one. That's your gut feeling. This is point number two. What does God think is evil? And then the third thing to keep us from getting coerced into sin is don't do anything that is foolish. The staff goes out to Armando's on Lee Highway about once a week. A lot of you, if you live here in Tyne or East Brainerd, you go there. And I'm always amazed that the door is marked very plainly. You know, you go to doors and they'll say push or pull. Well, the door's marked, and people walk right up to the door and they pull rather than push. And then sometimes they'll even stand there and like shake the door. Something's got to be wrong. And I'm going to say, read the directions, idiot. Last Sunday, Darlene and I, after dinner, we wanted to go to the hospital, and so to make some visits. So we went to the hospital and then came back pulling the driveway, and I said, Billy must have taken the truck, because I parked the truck at the end of the driveway. And so I said, Billy must have taken the truck. And Darlene looked at me and said, the truck's gone, isn't it? And then I looked back at her and said, yeah, because we're in the truck. Now that makes you feel pretty dumb. See, I believe in just telling, where you look stupid, because, gee. And you know what? Now that I think of it, that was a pretty stupid thing for me to include Darlene in this illustration. Now, we do stupid things because our brains are not engaged. We do not engage our brains, and we do stupid things like that. But we do foolish things because our souls are not engaged. When you do not engage your soul, you're going to do some foolish things. And it's not enough to say, well, I thought it through. David may have thought it through, but he still did the wrong thing. What David didn't do was he didn't pray it through. He didn't pray through the decision, the situation that was going on. And so many times if we don't pray through something, we do what's on our mind rather than what's on God's heart. And we miss the point altogether. And that's what makes it a sin. Now, David came to the point eventually where he acknowledged that his actions were wrong, and he confessed. He knew that he'd been foolish. And the Bible says it was a foolish man who built his house on sand rather than a rock. And the foolish bridesmaids didn't have their lamps ready when the bridegroom came. They were unprepared. And foolish people waste their time with controversial issues that really don't matter. God was saying to David, what does it matter if you have 1,000,000 soldiers? That's not what keeps you safe. And David knew right then that he had messed up big time. He wrote in Psalm 127, unless the Lord builds the house, its builders labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchmen stand guard in vain. What have you done this week in which you intentionally or unintentionally ignored God? You knew that what you were doing was wrong, whether for motive or method or timing or whatever, but you went ahead and did it. maybe you didn't speak up when you should have spoken up. You should have stopped someone from doing something. But you just sat there and you said absolutely nothing. You could have defended someone, but you chose not to. Or maybe God put in your situation, your path, someone who needed your help. It's sort of like the Jericho story. God has a man lying in the road, and people walk around him, people step over him. And finally, someone stops to help this man who is wounded and bleeding. I can't imagine how the rich man lived for all those years and did not know the name of the beggar who was outside his house, Lazarus. And never once offered to help. A few days ago, I took some flowers to one of our homebound members at the nursing home, and she was 93 years old. And as I walked down the hallway, someone said, "Are those for me?" And I said, "No, ma'am, they're for a lady whose birthday is today. She's 93. And she said, "Oh." So I took them on down the hallway and made my visit. And then when I came back out into the hall, she was still sitting there. And I'm thinking, oh, man, I wish she had been gone. So as I walked by, she says, "Will you bring me some flowers?" She turned around to her and said, "Sure. When's your birthday?" She said, "August the 9th. So I came back and made myself a note to take some flowers to this person on August the 9th. This month, we have several ministries that we are going to promote on a weekly basis. We're beginning with clothing. I don't want to coerce you into doing anything you don't want to do, but I do want to encourage you that this is a good week to join us in this family ministry. I want you to go home today, maybe as part of the celebration of the abundance that God has given us. Go into your closet and remove one article, one suit, one dress, one shirt, pair of pants, a blouse, skirt, whatever you haven't used for a while, or whatever you have duplicates of. And then you can either bring it to the church or take it to any place that has used clothing. You can go up here on Lee Highway for the American Clothing Company, or whatever it's called, for Teen Challenge. It's right there on the corner of 153 and Lee. But our project this week is, let's give clothing to those who need clothing. It's a good thing to do. And each week I want to challenge you with a different project.